Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of November 27, 2017 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Publics Meeting Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. We'd ask that you please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at the council meetings. Fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door to your left. If you could silence your cell phones, it would be appreciated. If everyone could stand so we could salute the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call.
Councilman Calamari?
Here.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Sears?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Council President Bruno?
Okay, just Bob had a conflict and will not be in attendance this evening. I'll be running the meeting. We have approval of minutes. August 21st, 2017 public meeting. August 21st, 2017 conference meeting. October 30th, 2017 closed session minutes. Are there any?
Mr. Ullman, I have a question on the COA part of it.
Which?
On, I guess it's the 3rd page.
It's in closed session, you can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, could I just, okay. Okay,
Would you like us to refrain from approving?
yeah, because I don't understand.
Okay. Just pull it.
So we're going to pull the closed session minutes. We can discuss those in the closed session. Can I have a motion for the other 2 if there's no?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes. We'll open up the floor to general public discussion. Please note that you'll have 5 minutes to address the council. I'll try to give you a heads up at 4 minutes, and that would be about it. May we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes. Is there anyone who'd like to address the council? Gentlemen, if you could state your name and address.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have a prepared statement which should take me approximately 5 minutes, okay?
May I have your?
My name is Roy Manelli, 445 Maple Avenue, Washington Township. I am a retired union iron worker from New York City, Local 40, with 44 years of service, and currently an instructor in the Ironworkers Local 40 and 361 apprenticeship program for the past 38 years. I am here to discuss the picket line at the Westwood High School in Washington Township during the week of November 13th by ironworkers from Local 11 against the non-union steel erector, Campbell Welding, and the general contractor, M&L Incorporated, for failure to hire union ironworkers and failure to pay the prevailing wage according to the Davis-Bacon Act of 1931, which is a federal law and also the law of New Jersey. You may ask, how does Local 11 know that they are not paying the prevailing wage rate? It is simple. They don't pay the benefit package, and they don't bid the job accordingly. That is how they become the low bidder. The prevailing wage law, Davis-Bacon Act, when followed, creates a level playing field for contractors who offer the greatest quality craftsmanship, the highest productivity, the quickest turnaround, and the best management, and not those who pay the lowest wages. If you go to the website page of New Jersey Department of Labor, Bergen County, lwd.dol, State, New Jersey, U.S., on page 32 of 69, okay, ironworkers' prevailing wage clearly states on 8/2/16, the wages were $41.54 an hour. Benefits were $44.27 for a total package of $85.81 per hour. But starting on 7/1/17, there was an increase of $1 in their wages and 75 cents in benefits, bringing the total package to $87.56 per hour. And I have copies for you. That is the law. It is easy to comply with the law. Hire union ironworkers. The second issue, safety. I was informed by Local 11 of the ironworkers at the picket line that they have taken in employees of Campbell Welding into their apprenticeship program, and many have done well. But some have failed the drug test and returned to Campbell Welding. The bottom line, non-union ironworkers and possibly other non-union trades are working at the rear of the high school on a construction site, not seen from a public street, which is Ridgewood Road, while the high school is in session. We do not know who these people are. I called the Washington Township Police and asked if any background checks were done on anyone at the site. The answer was no, that it was the problem of Westwood Regional, okay, to do the backroom checks. But in the case of an accident or incident on this job, Washington Township Police Department, the Washington Township Fire Department will respond along with the ambulance corps. Just a week ago on November 19th, on a windy Sunday, just 1 week ago, a non-union iron worker was blown off a roof on a construction job in Piscataway, New Jersey, and died. He was working for a non-union company, A&B Welding, from the state of Georgia. He was just 22 years old. And by the way, Piscataway's council meeting is tomorrow night, okay? Finally, on December 12th, Westwood Regional is having a vote on a $24 million bond issue to expand or replace the middle school on 3rd Avenue in Westwood. In the $3 million non-union maintenance garage at the rear of the high school is any indication of how the reward of the $24 million is to be done. You will see not only iron workers on the picket line, but every unionized trade in Bergen County. These union members are your friends, your neighbors. This is their livelihood. In the past 15 years, cheap non-union labor has taken over parts of New York City and into the state of New Jersey. I often say to my apprentice class, without a labor force, there is no non-union. And I say to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, build that wall. And I am finished, and I'll be glad to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt, but your comments took over the 5 minutes. I have nothing specifically to address you on. I don't know if any of the councilmen have anything they'd like to say.
No, thank you.
Will you have that information available for us?
Yes, right here.
Thank you.
I'll be glad to give it to you.
Thank
okay?
you.
If you could provide it to Sue.
Sure,
and she'll distribute
I
it
got
to-
enough for everybody.
Okay, she'll distribute it.
And also enough for the Board of Ed, too, in a couple of weeks.
I'm sure you will.
Just give it to the clerk. She'll distribute.
She'll give it to us. Thank you.
I'll take them all.
Well, you could, she'll make sure and give a big crowd.
And Janet has one.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council? Mr. Farrar?
William Ferrara, 2556 Cleveland Avenue. I just wanted to congratulate the winners and thank the losers for their service, Tom, since you're the one who won't be here anymore, and the mayor also for her service for many, many years. I'm not going to try and count. I did have a question about the literature that Tom and Peter had distributed indicated they had collected $6,000 for the Friends of Clark Field, and I wanted to know if it's all been spent, and
No.
if it hasn't, where is it, and what's going to happen to
It's
it?
in a savings account in Oritani Bank.
Right.
Once we finish with the rest of the project, all the money will be turned over to the town.
Oh, okay, well, I would like to make a recommendation, rather than turning it over to the town, if you would consider making contributions to the 3 Girl Scout troops that helped you that day, because that's what you indicated in the write-up today.
That's a good idea,
It's
thank you.
on the website. The other thing I wanted to ask about, you had... I am. I will talk louder. Tom, you had the survey done by the Rutgers people,
Yes,
and I know you indicated at one meeting that you were going to talk to the DMF about it. I was wondering what...
yeah, I talked to Bill. Bill has
Are they
all
going to
the...
follow up and do that?
I'm sorry.
Are they going to follow up and do what the recommendations are?
I hope he does, yes. You know,
Well, is the town going to take responsibility for this? I mean, Tom is spearheading this. He's leaving the council. And I believe all along it was the town's responsibility. Kudos to him for taking it on. But this is town property, they're town trees. There's a report out there, I think I made a copy available at an earlier meeting, that says that they need to be
I will talk to Bill again, and I know the schedule, and I will get the
Okay.
schedule, then I'll hand it off to the council.
Okay.
If that's okay, acceptable?
That would be fine.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, at the last meeting, you discussed the limitations on Mayor-elect Calamari with respect to compensation, getting involved with police compensation because of his relationship with his brother. I was wondering, is that as far as it extends? Only compensation, the personnel matters respected the police department or equipment?
I think it
or-
would be promotions,
Well, hiring, promotions
Well,
of-
there's a litany of things. It may not extend to something, say, for example, if there was a capital improvement to the police building.
Okay.
Per se, or a
Okay.
police car. I mean, I have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I don't think that it's
Well,
every...
who would actually be involved? If the mayor, I know Mayor Salkowitz has been involved heavily in negotiations, and he's going to be precluded from doing it, and he's precluded, I understand, from signing contracts with related to that. Who's going to be involved and lead the discussions with the police department when you have negotiations? Has
I
that
think-
discussion been made?
We haven't had discussions about it, and the council will decide. Obviously, they're the body that's going to be the economic arm of the town in terms of budgeting and contracting.
Right.
So they'll play a major role. I'm sure there'll be dialogue as to who will be involved.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to say that, ask a question about the literature that I got from Mr. Bruno and his candidates indicated that Mr. Cummings would also be limited as far as what he could do on the council. Is that accurate? And if it is accurate, in what way would he be limited?
I would assume I'm just speaking as a layman, I would assume some of the restraints or constraints that are placed upon the mayor would be on him, things such as compensation. I mean, if it directly impacts a immediate family member.
He has an immediate family member? I didn't realize that. Okay, fine. And then you also had a discussion about the grant writer last time, that there was no grant writer hired, but I know there was a lot of interviewing going on, and there's a woman at the table here with Assemblyman North one night. Is there any reason why we didn't hire a grant writer, or?
I would defer to the administration. I know that they had a number of interviews. I don't know if a final determination was made as to who was qualified, and I don't believe one was put before the council.
Okay. Is there-
If I might add?
Yeah.
Actually, I put it back to Bob, and Bob didn't come forward with any kind of recommendation to the administration.
Okay.
Because it was someone that the council was looking to hire. I think what happened too is, and Steve was involved in the conversations, as was the mayor, it was a matter of the proposals, the monetary compensation being way in excess of what was contemplated in the budget for 2016. And we already had the services of our engineer, who has been successful, and I do some of the grants, and it's just absorbed as part of my salary. The woman who was here, Marlene Casey, I believe could bring something to the table that was not provided by myself or Mr. Statiel in the way of fire truck grants. But my understanding is she withdrew her nomination, her name from consideration. As far as DOT grants, she was specifically going to seek a percentage of any kind of grant that we would receive, which would be far, far in excess of what we pay the engineer based on his actual time. So I think those were some of the many factors that were in the play. And Mr. Cassio, Dr. Cassio
Those
is...
were exactly the factors.
Yeah.
You know, we really didn't budget for it in this fiscal year. You know, we talked about one grant writer who would take a percentage, and the other one, their fees were in excess of what we had in the budget this time. But I think going forward, I think I can speak for most of the council, would probably entertain the grant writer again. They're very effective for the upcoming year.
I'd just like to add something. I did a whole spreadsheet of what Mr. Statiel, the engineer, charged us for the grants that he has put in for, and his percentage ranged in between like 1% and 2% of what the grant we got, whereas somebody like Capital Alternatives, which is Marlene Casey, they take 1/3 of what they get. So at this point, the other grant writer that we did interview was very, very expensive as a monthly fee.
Okay,
So,
all right. I just,
Mr. Farrar, I'm sorry, we've exceeded your allotted time.
I'll bring up the other things next week. Has
All
to
right.
do with garbage pails in the park.
You sort of got it in this time.
Returned phone calls from 2 people about it.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Mr. Snide?
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. First of all, congratulations to the people that will be now involved in the council. And Mayor, I wish you the very best in your days ahead. And Tom, I know you're going to be involved. So just because I don't consider there's winners and losers. I consider there's more participants that have knowledge that are going to attend the meetings here, and the voice of the people will win. No one else will. The first thing, within the 5 minutes, the crosswalks at the mall, Memorial Field, Washington Ave, and Pascack. I've already discussed that with the mayor-elect, that that needs to be the first priority. We need to have that set up on day one, not we'll put it in advisement and we'll do it. I've been talking to it for how many years? The mall is now at the point that there is no parking in the mall. I don't know if you come by here and you realize now, they're parked on the side by the library. Something's going to have to be done with that situation. I don't know how to solve it, but the owner of the mall has made some major changes And as we all know, Food Town is on fire. They're doing it magnificently, and they're going to compete against the Wegmans in a small way, but everyone's coming into this town. We waited for this. Now we're getting more retailers that are coming in that want to be in the mall. So the mall owner is spending money, okay? But we got to solve this parking thing, and I don't know how we're going to solve it. So the walks, you know what I'm saying, in the center of Pascack Road, that way they have it in other towns, not on the side. It's okay, you want to have lights on the side, but in the center. That'll slow down the traffic because the traffic's getting bad. One of the things that I wanted to mention about, I know there was conversation about the ambulance corps moving over to the firehouse. One of my concerns is, and I'm here all the time, obviously I'm a realtor and I'm here in town, you can't get by there when you start getting in the afternoon at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. You cannot get by anything there. God forbid someone's going to get really hurt. What are you going to do on the next street just to go and try to get them? You'll be running across the Washington Ave to try and, they'll physically be to get a stretcher to pick them up. So I'm worried until this whole thing on Washington Ave gets corrected, please don't do anything that might eventually harm the residents of this town, okay? Sidewalks. I've gone over that issue a lot of times. The people that don't repair their sidewalks, meaning the fact they're indented that you can fall down because it's so much lower than the baseline, that has to be on a very early agenda, because I got to tell you, people are walking more and more. Whether they should be biking on a sidewalk or not is another issue, but you have people falling. And the homeowner's got to take some responsibility for their sidewalks, okay? I think that's something we know, and I think that should be done. 168, I know for years here, ever since I've been involved in it, we're doing something, nothing's been done. I know Madam Mayor had the meetings, but nothing's been accomplished, okay? And we need to do something, okay? So I wish everybody well, and let's see some things happen right away. And the beautification signs that we talked about, Madam Mayor, that I was going to see the colors of them, which you know, you had said, come up one day and you'll be able to see them. Let's see them at the beginning of 2018, okay? Let's make this town great. Town center is the most important thing of the whole town, to make real estate values important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Fred Getz, 587 Washington Avenue, Township of Washington. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I wanted to say congratulations, Mayor-elect Calamari, of course to Mr. DeSena and Mr. Cumming. Councilman Sears, thank you for your service, and of course, Madam Mayor, thank you for your many years of service. I have to say, I wasn't expecting to lead off from Mr. Snide, but I do have to agree with him with regard to pedestrian safety. That is of paramount importance. I think also one thing that was not mentioned was the lighting at the crosswalk of Memorial Field. I still think there needs to be a street light there. I know just from driving down there, you can't see. I know at all the events and Town Day, with the sporting events, even if you put a police officer there with reflective gear, you can't see the police officer. So if you can't see the police officer, you can't see the pedestrians crossing the street there. I think that needs to be a priority. Also, with regard to pedestrian safety, I have brought to the attention of the administration on a couple times before the handicap sidewalk ramps and how there was still a few remaining, including the one in front of my house that were not done from many years ago. That was stemmed from money we got from a county grant to do all the county road sidewalk ramps. Delightfully, the ones on Pascack Road by Memorial Field were then done. However, mine is still probably the last one in Township that has not been done. And I'd like to know if that can be addressed. I'm sure it's a little late in the winter right now, but I'm not going to go into the reasons why. I'd just like to, again, say that I need that addressed, because especially there's a sidewalk ordinance, it's my understanding, going into effect, and I have to put the township on notice that any unsafe condition is stemming from the handicapped ramp that has not been installed, that the township took the funds for from the county, is the responsibility of the township and not the homeowner. So I would like to see that done. Again, more people are walking, and there is, I can't fathom why there is one left that's not done, and it happens to be mine, but please take that issue up. Next, if I may address the mayor-elect directly, I know that you ran on a concept of change and a platform of change, and Lord knows we'd love to see some. There's always things that can be improved. My understanding really is that there's not too many things that can make a significant change in this township, except for changing the form of government and changing how much money we put into our infrastructure and where we spend it. And I'm sure that we will address those two topics, but the other one, I believe, is staffing. And being that it is now almost December, and if we are to RFQ for professionals for January 2nd, I believe that process needs to start now, if not 15 days ago. I didn't know if you had any plans for that process to start, or if you were thinking about that.
Still thinking about the positions that I would want to RFQ or RFP, whichever the right term is, and Ken is working on getting me a list of those positions that we can do that on.
Okay.
So hopefully by next week we'd have updates on that.
Great, appreciate that. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Getz, just what's the cross street that you're at?
Monroe and Washington Avenue.
Oh, Mr. Ullman, if I might?
Certainly.
Okay. In a recent meeting that I participated in with certain administrators from the Pascack Valley as well as the county, it would involve a tour of the facilities in the new facilities, or they're about a year and a half old, I guess, over behind Newbridge, formerly Bergen Pines. The issue of paving came up, or I actually raised it. Washington Avenue, I believe, is on the short list. I've been told that orally. I'm waiting for a letter to confirm that. I was made aware of that around the time they advised that they were paving Linwood. And of course, we discussed the the sidewalk and the curb cuts. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth discussion amongst this council, and I feel like I finally have a handle on what's involved. They do not make you install handicap crosswalks if you do not have one. However, if you have a curb cut there, it must be ADA compliant. They said like over 90% of the ramps in the entirety of the state are not compliant. I don't know why that is, but the engineer from the county walked Washington Avenue with Mr. Statiel, and they've identified the curbs that need to be replaced. I am aware of Mr. Getz's request to install a curb, and I believe Mr. Statiel is going to include that in his estimate. The county will reimburse for any work by way of, now I'm trying to think what this is. I don't have my notes in front of me, but there's a reimbursement factor, and then there's also something where you have to use the county contractor. I believe the curbs are a reimbursement. They'll also reimburse us for Mr. Statiel's design fees. There's also, they're going, so when they're paving as well, they'll pave that, and that's not a reimbursement, we use their contractor. Or it could be a reimbursement, I have to look at my notes. But the good news is that both things should be covered through the county budget,
Okay.
not ours.
And do we have a list, based on that review that Mr. Statiel did of curbs or intersections that require remediation?
I don't have it with me. I believe he did an estimate. The mayor wanted to know an estimate of his fees. Janet, if there's anything you can add, I'm going off the top of my head. I'll try to look at some emails, and I can refresh you. I don't have the exact list, but it's based on what the engineer for the county is directing needs to be done.
And the reimbursement is at 100%?
I believe so. Again, I would like to look at my notes to just
If you
refresh.
follow the directives and they approve your design and all that, we went through the same walkthrough on Linwood Avenue, and we didn't have to make any changes there. But what Mary Ann is saying is basically correct. So we would get reimbursed after, as long as it's all approved. Ahead of time, we use their contractor, that sort of thing. Which is good to know, you know.
I mean, just out of curiosity, it just sounds like a bunch of shifting money. If we get reimbursed at 100% and we have to use their contractors, why not have them do it and pay for it?
This is the first time, I think, that in the past, it's not been like they would do that. But if you follow these parameters, according to Mr. Statiel, you know, he met with them also, and Mary Ann went to the other next meeting. We could theoretically get all the money back.
Okay. Any questions? Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? If you'd like to speak, Ms. Dumbra.
Rosa Dombra, 423 Colonial Boulevard. Now we're on the subject of sidewalks. When I'm by the shopping center here on Pascack and Manhattan Avenue, okay, there's a push button there, okay, to cross the street, cross over Pascack Road. Now, it does not, you cannot go across if you don't press that button. And if you do press the button and you're going across, you're in the middle of Pascack Road and it's already flashing red hand. Now, something has to be done about that. Now, if you go to Teaneck and some other towns in Bergen County, the sign, once the sign, the red light goes on and you want to cross, everything stops. You have the hand signals. You don't have to press the automatically. It happens. Why don't we have it there on Pascack and Manhattan, where it's such a busy area for pedestrians?
I could not explain why we don't. Sure, it has to do with the amount of pedestrians in some of the other intersections you're referring to. Perhaps there's a higher level or a higher intensity of pedestrians.
I don't think any one of you have stood on that corner and see who's crossing the street. I mean, even when it rains, you're stepping in a puddle. There's no drainage there. The curbing is incorrect, and I think you should get since a county road, you should get the county down here to do something about the cross light.
Okay.
And also, when you have to cross the street to go towards Memorial Field. Now, Hillsdale has set up a beautiful lighting system by their library. I don't know if you've been walking over there. How come we don't have that there? We don't have anything there. You're lucky you can't cross the street. They're going more than 40 miles an hour. We have to tone down, the county has to tone down the driving amount that's on that road. It should go down to at least 35, because when somebody does 35, they're really doing 40.
Well, I think it's 25 if I'm not mistaken, but I could be mistaken.
No,
On
once you
on
pass
40
Pascack
on 40.
Road,
It's 40.
it's 40, then it goes to 30 when you're making the curve towards, turn
Yes.
towards the shopping center, and then it goes back. You can't cross over there in that crosswalk, it's bad.
Okay.
And you have a school there, and you should have a special lighting system there that they have to stop when you're in the crosswalk. They don't, they go around you, this way, that way. The town is not paying attention to the pedestrians. Remember, we were here first before the cars.
Okay.
Michael, I just found, if you want to know about the curbing, I just found my emails. So it is, they reimburse 100% of the engineer's fees for the design, 100% for the construction. You do have to use their contract, and it has to be certified to be compliant before they'll pay. They pay 10% of the inspection fees, and it was not recommended that we undertake the project at this time of year because the curbs don't cure as well if there's potential for salt. I did ask Mr. Statiel to get together the design specs for them as soon as possible. So we'll be ready to go as soon as we can in the spring, so then we can be first on the county paving list, because they won't pave until the curbs are right.
Okay.
Mr. Ullman, I have a question for Mary Ann.
Sure.
You said 10% of the inspection fee
Yeah.
that they'll pay. Who inspects it? We inspect it, the state inspects it, the county inspects it? Who
I
does the
think,
inspection?
I think we do it, and they
We
have to
do.
be certified by our engineer as being compliant.
Okay.
And once they get that, it's all good. Usually the inspection fees are the smallest part of the job.
Okay. Thank you.
In terms of the light that Ms. Dumbra was referring to, who controls the timing of that? Is that Township or is it the county?
I apologize.
County.
I
It's a
will defer to Janet because I was trying to find emails. I
County?
wasn't listening.
Can they be asked to come and look at it? Just if the timing to cross the street, to cross Pascack is so short that you can't actually walk across without getting flashed?
Yeah, I'll talk to, a couple issues, I'll talk to them tomorrow. I've seen people cross, they hit the button and they do get across quite easily.
Okay.
But I'll see if they have any reports of any problems.
Okay.
And further to that, I just found the detail of the street corners on Washington Avenue. Hickory Street, Walnut Street, Colonial Boulevard, Monroe Avenue, Pascack Avenue, and Jacqueline Road.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ullman, they did come out, and the county did come out to Ridgewood and Pascack and did a survey of the timing with that.
Right.
And I think at that time, they did not change it. They thought it was adequate, but they did come out and take a look at our request.
Ridgewood and Pascack is controlled by sensors, not changing the second.
Okay.
But we asked them to come out because the green light was
Very short.
very
The arrow-
short.
The arrow was short.
They came out, and I think they made it a little longer. You know.
No, that's not true. The
I said, I
county,
think they made it a little longer. I
the
didn't know
county
if
has
they
not
did.
has not touched that light since 2002. There is nothing that they can adjust on that light. There are sensors in the road.
And they were out doing something there.
Okay.
They came.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Mr. DeSena?
Michael DeSena, 347 Beach Street, Washington Township, New Jersey. Is Mr. Statiel the one responsible for the handicap ramps that were recently just put in? Did his firm oversee that?
I'm not sure what you mean as far as
The ones that
response.
were just put in on Washington near Memorial?
Yes, and they were approved by the county. We were reimbursed 100% under a CDBG grant.
That's great. The plastic coating on top of the plastic, the protective coating that goes on the ramps, on the domed part of the ramps, the plastic coating, which says it should be removed within 24 hours, has been there for over 3 months. So does that mean somebody from his office didn't go look at him and see that the plastic coating was still on there? It's a slip hazard. If you go out there right now after a rainstorm, it's a liability. Mr. Pollard would be happy if somebody slipped on it, but that's about it.
Mike, what's wrong with that?
The coating is on there to protect the red color from getting concrete stains on it, and it's supposed to be removed within 24 hours. There's a note on it that says, please remove within 24 hours. It's a liability. I made you smile, Mr. Pollard.
No, you did. Of course
I
you
was
know.
being jovial. I was not being... But it's been 3 months or maybe more that this plastic has been on there, and luckily nobody's fallen on it. But I couldn't look at it. I actually, before the meeting, I went and looked at it again because I said maybe tonight it'll be off. But nope, it's still all there. And there's the plastic is still on mountain. The homeowner on the one side, I saw him out there himself removing it, and I asked him, and he goes, it was all shriveled and looked ugly, so he did it himself. But the other homeowner, since it's still all intact, it's still there. So if we can get that rectified, I'd really, like to save the liability issue that's there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes. We have no ordinances, and we have no resolutions. We do have a consent agenda. All of the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 17-344, authorized to refund the balance of engineering escrow block 2326, lot 71, 414 Pascack Road in the amount of $559. Resolution 17-345, authorized to refund the balance of engineering escrow block 2501, lot 192 East Glen Ave in the amount of $608. Resolution 17-346, authorized to refund the balance of engineering escrow, block 448, lot 27, 273 Colonial Boulevard, in the amount of $510. Resolution 17-347, grant permission to the Doghouse Saloon and Grill to have extended hours November 22, 23, 2017, and December 31, 2017. Resolution 17-348, authorize the award of contract to Cefelli and Son General Contracting, Inc. for the 2017 police station drainage improvements. Resolution 17-349, authorize the sale of surplus personal property by public auction to be conducted by the County of Bergen.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions on any of these items? I just had one question. The public auction, it speaks to, I think it's 3 or 4
Three.
cars that are going to be disposed of, or hopefully disposed of.
Yes.
We took quite a bit of hose out of service recently.
It's only a vehicle auction.
Okay. Can you, can we get rid of the hose, either sell it, or can we donate it to an organization that may be able to use it?
I've been in touch with the fire department to try to figure out where it is being stored and what they plan to do with it, and I'll follow up with them again, because I don't have anything specific. What's that?
The mayor can put the microphone in front of her, so that we can hear more stairs. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, I will follow up with the fire department once again, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have anything? All right. Do we have roll call?
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes. All right, adjournment to the conference agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Calamari.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes. All right. Moving right along. Okay. So the first order of business is are administrative items. The administrator, Ms. Groh, has provided us with the capital or the project tracker, which has a number of updates. I don't know if anyone had any questions on these or required something specific. Did we get the leaf pusher?
Jenna, do you know? I believe we have it, yes.
So the leaf pusher has been delivered?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, but I know we're fully fully operable. I think it was to replace another one. I can check at break. See if it's been, if we received the
I haven't
signed
seen it
voucher.
myself, but
Okay, I mean, okay. And are there dependencies for any of the drainage work to be done or complete before the flooring and painting? And I see that something is supposed to start the week of 12/4 or 12/11 regarding the painting. Has that been finalized yet?
well, I did have a conversation with our superintendent, Bill Waller, this evening about some other things, and the painting should start on December 4. He's waiting for a definite okay. He happened to call the people who got the bid tonight about something, so hopefully that'll start, but it's not going to start unless the flooring will go in right after it. So they're working on coordinating with the two concerns who are going to do it. He's also got the tree company set up that got the quote on the bid to cut down the trees on the side of the police department that we need to take down. That'll be done within a couple of days. That's where we are on that.
So to answer your question, Michael, they're not, they can go side by side, they don't depend on one another.
Okay.
And as you know, you just awarded the contract for the, so actual contract has to be drafted. The contemplation is to try to get it done in December if the weather permits.
And did that, the drainage program, did that include everything that was recommended by the engineer, including the shed? Wasn't there a shed roof?
No, that actually has to come, be done as a one-off. I asked why it wasn't included. He said, typically carpenters don't make good excavators and excavators don't make good carpenters. So he thought it should be a separate project, and he's designing, it's a small job, and he's going to reach out to some of the contractors we've used in the past. Unfortunately, the one that we used for this project and other is at its max, so we'd have to get 2 quotes no matter what.
That's why the trees are being done separately also. That was not part of the bid package. That is part of the drainage design, but it's being done separately.
Okay.
Mr. President, or Vice President, I have a question for the administrator. With the regard to the award for Gardner Field, how much was that award for the grant? Do we have a number on that?
I think it was 13.5.
13.5?
Yes, it was exactly what we asked for.
That's what we asked for, okay.
What was that?
They didn't
for?
reduce it at all or anything?
No, we got the full amount.
What
Excellent,
was that for?
Gardner Field.
Oh, yeah, I think we got the full amount.
Yeah.
excellent, okay, great.
And one, just sorry, back to the flooring and the painting. Will that work impact operations for the police?
No, they planned it out so that they'll be able to function during this process.
Okay, thank you.
They've been kind of getting rid of stuff in the meantime, getting ready.
Okay.
Michael, I came up with one question. On the telephone system, I see that was due today. Did that happen?
We're almost there. There's some additional work that has to happen first thing in the morning.
Okay.
What happened was they ran a test on Wednesday, and it took a little bit longer than they expected. They didn't tell me till 4:45 that it was good to go. Of course, when you try to reach Verizon at 4:45 before a holiday weekend, I sent the email hoping we'd get some responses. I was checking all day, every day over the break, but I was able to set it up for tomorrow morning at 9, where the phones will actually be switched over and the training of the staff will occur.
Okay. And also, does this phone system support, like, people calling a main number and saying, if you want the building department, press 1, things like that?
Yes, it does.
Even if we don't institute it on day 1?
Yes, the mayor has been adamant that she does not want that to happen. We do have the capability. I did speak to the tech today about the programming, because I said there may not be things we do right away, but we may do later on.
Okay.
And one of them is that, because a good deal of my secretary's time is spent redirecting calls.
Thank you.
All right. Next item was regarding the AEDs.
Jay, did you get an update from Bill Stickle?
I got an email from him. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if I have it with me, though.
Well, if you could circulate it.
I'll circulate it. It's a nice report.
Okay, if you could provide it to Sue, and she'll send it out to the council. So just, there was a request that came in regarding AEDs and potentially participating and getting some additional AEDs. We realized that it was addressed, one, to the wrong Washington Township, but two, through a lot of the work that Councilman Sears had previously done in raising some funds, and I believe Peter was involved with that as well. We have quite a few of these devices in town, and we just wanted to make sure we knew where they were. And we've requested a report, and hopefully we'll have that shortly. Prospect Street, I think you replied, Marianne, that bids are due for the 30th?
Yes, actually technically quotes, but yes,
Okay.
because it's under the threshold. One has been received so far, and Mr. Steel will reach out to the other companies that were solicited to make sure that they submit on time. And then, I think, and Mrs. Toole stopped in my office today, let her know as well, in person.
And what would be the next step? If it's a quote, does it go to the lowest quote, or does it go?
Typically, it has to be lowest responsible quote, all factors being considered. I don't have the exact language. So if you have two quotes that are similar, or, you have one from somebody that you think is going to do a horrible job, you can toss that. So there is some subjectivity, a little bit more than a bid, but it's essentially the same rules. It does not require an award by the council. We can proceed through requisition, purchase order, and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
I do have the report with me for the AEDs, if Sue wants to take it and distribute it and send it back.
Yes, I just had something on that AED thing that you kind of went by quickly. I mean, just to the next subject. So there is an issue of that AED offer that was made, because as part of what they want indemnification from the town. Now, I did contact the JIF and ask them about that, because, we really shouldn't be taking anything unless the JIF is approving it. They do have a policy about indemnifications. The attorney's supposed to get back to me and let me know what that is, so we really can't move ahead even if we wanted to. As I understand the defibrillators we have already, we didn't give any indemnification at all.
Okay.
So that's still out there. I'm still waiting for an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Next items are,
Excuse me, Mike, I'm sorry, I had a question on the Prospect Street, because one of the people who reached out to me today also, and basically his question was, as best we could tell, when might work start on that, considering that the quotes have to be submitted on 11/30?
Well,
Can they do it during the winter, I think was his concern, if the ground gets too hard?
I guess it's similar to, it's weather sensitive to some extent. I don't know what temperature precludes the work, but we'll try to get it done as soon as possible.
Okay, and again, they just asked if we could keep them informed. They said since the last meeting, we haven't kept them formally or informally apprised as to what was going on, so maybe just an occasional email to them.
Well, no, they did get an email about Chris designing the specs. It was right before I went away up to Boston.
Okay, I'm only repeating what the resident told me, so maybe he's mistaken.
Okay.
Class 3 Special Law Enforcement Officer, Police Officer.
Okay, I've reached out to Westwood, and they haven't discussed it as a council yet, and I made a call to the school, and I haven't heard back from them, but I should hear from them this week. But Westwood did discuss something about a joint fiber optic network with Verizon, hooking up the borough, the schools, and Washington Township PDs, so they can have eyes in the schools' cameras. I know Westwood has it with their dispatch, with their schools. Again, I don't know where we stand with ours, but I think it would be a good idea to explore the fiber optic network to get eyes on the schools at this point. So I'll ask Mayor-elect if he'd be interested in that in January.
Everything's on the table. Mhm.
So I think that's a good place to start. And again, I'll reach out to the administration of the school district and find out what their interest is.
Okay.
And Tom and I met with the administrator and a couple other people, and this topic was brought up about the Class 3. Without giving away their security things, they're happy with what they have in place, and so he did not see the need for us to explore that any further.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
And we'll just take that off for the next meetings.
And they were working with our police department on the video interface.
With the borough?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I believe the next one is also Tiger Grant. There's a March 18 due date.
Yeah, I'm still working with Congressman Gosheimer's office with that, and we just have to get some information from the town. The mayor and I spoke about it quite a while ago, and hopefully we can get the cooperation of the police department for they need the incidence of accidents at that location, and just statistics, and they can put into their formal and see where it goes. So we're working on that one as well.
Okay. Next item is appointments for 2018. I believe this was with regard to a number of appointments that the council has specifically around the zoning board. As far as I know, there are 3 individuals that whose terms are coming due, 2 members and 1 alternate. So in order to ensure that the zoning board is fully staffed, I think we should, certainly come up with a list of individuals who would be interested in either continuing in the role or new names. Sue, if it's something I could ask you to do, to reach out to the 3 individuals whose term is coming up and just see if they have an interest in having their term renewed. And that's not to preclude anyone on the council to come up with a new name, or anyone who's watching on TV. If you have an interest in participating in the township activities, the zoning board is something that I participated on before I joined the council. It's quite interesting. Can be a lot of time, but it is rewarding, so I recommend if anyone has an interest in participating in the zoning board, if they could reach out to any member of the council or give a call to Sue in the clerk's office, and someone will certainly be back in touch with you regarding that.
Well, Ken, we also have 2 newly elected council members that sit on that board, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Michael, I'd just like to say to the people, same thing for the planning board.
Yes, yes. To finish out their terms, not new terms, finish out the terms, yeah. the two people are coming off the board and coming onto the council.
Right.
So their terms have to be filled for the unexpired
For the
portion of
remainder.
their term.
So we'll be looking for 5 names, possibly, a minimum of 2 names.
Yeah, and again, I think I might need 3 people on planning, so anyone watching, listening?
Yeah, you have 3 people whose terms expire this year. Actually, Gus and, I think it's Bernie Golick and Pinnock, maybe.
Okay, thanks.
Jean Dumars resigned the other day, but I'll be appointing somebody tomorrow,
Good.
Tomorrow or Wednesday?
Wednesday. I'm sorry, Wednesday.
All right.
Make sure you're there.
Wouldn't miss it for the world. So again, those are opportunities to serve the community in a volunteer manner, and it also is, I found it quite interesting. I think most people would. In terms of reorganization dates, so, you know, I assume this would occur at the first regularly scheduled meeting. I don't know if there's a need or a desire to have a meeting on the 1st to handle that reorganization. Perhaps, you know, I want to put you on the spot, Pete, but maybe before the next meeting, if you have any thoughts on that.
The only thing I can say so far is the fire department approached me because they have their reorg meeting on the 1st, and they would like me to be able to swear in the new officers. So I don't know if a reorg has to happen in connection with me being sworn in before I can swear in their officers. But if a swearing in is different than reorg, then I don't have any big preference on the reorg. But I have to be sworn in, and you know, maybe the other 2 councilmen would like to be sworn in on New Year's Day.
And just on that note, Michael, if you wouldn't mind, the town calendar that was issued has it listed being on January 1st. Doesn't mean it has to stay there, but I'm just saying it's out on the calendars. I'm not sure why it was put that way. I think my secretary thought historically that's always how it's been when it's a mayoral election.
Okay.
Well, we can.
Well, like I said, it does not have to be that date.
Has to be within
But
the
I
first
just-
10 days.
No, the first week.
First week?
First week, yeah.
Just as long as maybe before
But-
next
but-
week, if we've all gotten a number of phone calls inquiring about when reorg is from a number of different people, so, you know, whatever you guys come up with and want to do, can, you know,
Yeah, I would-
we
I
can
would-
talk about what's.
Yeah, well, I would definitely have to say that you need to swear in the mayor. It doesn't have to necessarily be a full reorganization meeting, but you have to swear the mayor in. I would swear the council people in, so you have a functioning government as of January 1. But those oaths could be done without a full-blown reorganization meeting, but it should be done on the 1st. The swearing in.
Okay. And just playing devil's advocate, if it waited to the 3rd, is the town without a government, or does?
It's without a mayor. The mayor's term is over. You have not sworn in a new mayor. You have no mayor. So you have 3 council people.
So we run it?
Yeah, but you could swear the mayor in by himself.
Yeah. I'm just saying, yeah, no, the answer is you can't tell me what the mayor does.
No, we can have a,
Have a party for 3 days.
I don't know if this has been done typically in the past, but I know it came up recently in connection with appointment of directors. I came across something that directors are also supposed to be sworn in on the 1st of the year.
Well,
I don't know, you can look at that, but I'm pretty
Well, let me
sure.
say this. I mean, the reorganization is supposed to occur on January 1 or any other time during the first week. So there's a contemplation that if you didn't have it on the 1st, you know, it's not necessary. The way I look at it, I don't think the directors are as necessary as the mayor and the, I don't want to say secondarily the council, but I think at least you have 3 council people, which is a working majority, but I do think that you need to have the mayor. And my preference, if somebody asked me, would be to get everybody sworn in, at least. If you're not gonna reorganize on January 1, I think people should be sworn in on January 1.
Okay,
But definitely the mayor should be.
okay. All right, so it sounds like something should occur on January 1st. We, I guess, have to figure out the scope of that, if it's going to be the full reorg or a swearing in of the mayor, Mayor-elect Calamari, and Council-elect DeSena and Cumming. And we can, we have time to decide that.
Yes.
Okay. Council meeting scheduled for 2018.
So I gave you a calendar tonight, basically just showing you what the borough holidays are, just for a beginner. Next week, I will have Planning, Zoning Board. I've inquired for the mayor, for the Pascagoula Valley Mayor's Association, their dates, to make sure that the mayor-elect does not have a conflict there as well. And then, we'll go by the ordinance if you'd like, and I'll see where they fall into. I'll see if we can give you a couple different formats. Take a look. I'll have the new elected officials also in on the loop, just so they know what's going on. But from what I've understood with Mr. Poller, is the reorg is the one that we can set now, the reorg for that. And then the council meetings for 2018, that schedule, we can work on it, but it cannot be adopted until the reorg meetings. So with the new council. So I'll give you some samples and ask them to see what you want to do.
Okay.
Sound good?
Right?
Okay.
Newly elected officials. So those of us on the dais are learned, but for those...
Pushing it, Michael, pushing it.
Mr. DeSena and Mr. Cumming, there are seminars and that are provided by the League of Municipality on budgeting. It's an orientation. I went and attended it. I found it pretty informative. I'm sure Sue will be reaching out to you with the timings of that. I think they're on a Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had it. They gave it to them.
Okay, so
They have
you're ahead of the game, and if anyone on the council wants to go for a refresher, we certainly can do that. The next item, as I said, I'm sitting in for Mr. Bruno, number 9, voter intimidation. I am not aware of what this was or the genesis of it, so I would propose it be tabled since I can't speak to it. I don't know if anyone else can.
No, it's tabled.
Okay. Next area is ordinances and legislation. Alarm permit fees. There was a question raised, could those individuals with disabilities have that waived? And we had requested we had inquired as to how many permits actually are in existence. Do we have that information?
I don't have it. Janet, you were going to speak to the chief about that?
About-
Talk to about how many alarm permits are issued at this time?
Oh, yeah, I have to check with him.
Okay. I mean,
Mike, I
You wanna know how
that
many we give out,
seniors
right?
don't have to pay for alarm fees,
Yeah, if you're 65 or older,
65 or over.
so do we know what the fee is?
$50,
And that's annual?
yes.
And if you're 65 and over?
It's free, you don't pay.
Okay. Can't wait to get there.
Cut my costs in
I have
half.
a while.
You can wait, you can wait.
I don't look it.
Don't rush it.
I have like 30 years. Okay. Okay, so, Madam Mayor, if we could get that information, I do think,
Okay.
the application of that exemption could be difficult to determine, but we can perhaps figure that out once we understand the scope of the amount of permits. The next item is the gas station at the corner of Manhattan and Pascack Road, the Luke Oil. They recently did some renovation, and they are now advertising or showing that they are providing diesel fuel. And I think there was a question as to if that's a permitted use, and have they received permission, and really what they can and can't do.
It just says gas filling. Okay, well, I didn't get much chance to look at it because it was kind of came up around the holiday time, but the permitted use is gas filling, it says. That's the wording, gas filling. It doesn't say no diesel, it doesn't say no MTBE, it doesn't say no leaded, unleaded, it doesn't say anything. I don't know anything off the top of my head which prohibits diesel in and of itself. I know that if it was part of a site plan application, there can be a restriction. And I believe there is a restriction on the gas station on the corner of
The Exxon.
the Exxon, yeah, and
And the
I think the
BP,
BP
and the
also.
BP.
But those were because they came before the board, and it was a specific condition of their approval. Now, this, and I haven't had a chance to check the zone, but I think this is a C zone, and the C zone does permit gas filling per se.
Ken,
Yeah.
gasoline is different than diesel. They're both types of fuel. Isn't that
I
the
think
distinction?
I think there have to be some cases on this. It's not something that gasoline, it says gasoline and oil filling. So I don't know that diesel is something
Ken?
different than that.
But there's a-
It's under my understanding that he pulled no permits out.
Okay.
He did move soil.
Well, let me say this. He's got to comply with all the other things. He put up signs, that's a no-go. That's a problem. If there was soil movement he had to do, and he didn't get a soil movement permit, that's a problem. So I think there are other issues. I was just talking to the use issue. You asked if it was a
Yes.
permitted use.
Okay.
So I was just trying to figure if there was a matter of control just by the virtue of diesel versus other kind of.
Mr. Chairman, what I was going to bring up was there's a lot other issues there than just selling the diesel.
Okay.
I did go there Saturday. I sent the building inspector over on Wednesday afternoon. The gas pump that does diesel is locked now. What they did was they didn't change tanks, but they put in a mixer that made the high test diesel. Okay? So to me, that means that they should have come in for something. In their other gas station in Cresskill, I think it is, at the other Lukoil, the Lukoil people did come in and get permits. I don't know if it's exactly the same as they were doing here, but the signs, definitely, they can't have those no matter what. They have to come to.
What I don't understand is you said a mixer. You can't mix regular
just
gas with diesel. It just doesn't work.
I'm just reporting to you what I was told.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm saying.
And the signs, no matter what, have to come to planning board for approval. He did cover the one. He was very, nice about it and all, but I said to him, I don't know exactly what has to be done. We're looking into it, but in the meantime, they can't do anything until that's determined. But we did not grant permission to BP or Exxon on the corners due to a lot of issues also. So it's going to be a little bit of time for us to really research everything.
Okay.
It was a Thanksgiving weekend and, whatever, but they are aware of it, Lukoil. As a matter of fact, the owner-manager was there when I went there. So they're not pumping any diesel, but I need to know what else they did there, with the sidewalk, and they did something on the canopy. So in my mind, they really should have come to the town to get some kind of declaratory statement as to what they have to do.
Okay.
So they'll be back.
Okay, just one question. Do we know, so you mentioned it's a C zone, would they have had to come before one of the boards or either of the boards to, when they initially set up the gas station? No, the gas
It may
station.
not have been. I mean, if it was a permitted use and they just got a permit and didn't have to have any approval, that's a possibility. It could have predated.
Yeah, they were
whatever.
there, been there a
They've been
long
there a long
time.
time. I don't know what the zoning ordinance was at the time and what the status of the site plan approval situation was. Because some of these things in town go way back. The auto sales on Pascack, on Pascack Road goes
Yes.
back to
1941.
41, so not necessarily is the answer.
Okay. Any questions on Luke Oil?
No.
All right. Next is firehouse parking permits. So we've amended the ordinance. We're sort of back to the old ordinance, if you will. How many applications have we received to date?
As of right now, it's actually 57. And in those 57, there's probably close to 8 or 9 that are brand new.
Okay.
Just moved in, changed jobs.
Okay. And is there a cap in the ordinance on how many can be issued?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Okay.
So it's basically based on the year before, and then you have the decision of next week, I can put a resolution in front of you with whatever number you would like to put in there, of what you would like to see.
Well, I think, and when we had the discussion on revising the ordinance, as long as everyone who applies is aware that it is first come, first served, and that there's no guarantee, to me, it should be as many as people want.
How many
spots
did you
every
get
day
so
in
far? How many did you get so far?
We have 57 that have applied, and that's not even all of the ones.
57 came in? How many did you have last year?
We had 65, we saw, I think it was 70 applications, but we had like 5 and like a alternate kind of a thing.
It's getting close, yeah.
Yeah. But we haven't seen a lot of the regular people, and that's what Cornelia and I are concerned about, that next month they're gonna say, I don't have my permit, even though they all got the letters in October stating it was coming due.
What's the deadline for bringing them in?
Well, we had the deadline of October 21st, I think it was the one late night I was here, was the last night. that we
So
have. But that
is
was
it
before we
technically
amended
closed?
this Also, I've been still taking them in because we amended it in the meantime, and that just went into effect last week.
So has everyone who has an existing permit, have they been noticed that,
Yes.
have they had a communication in the past 2 months
Yes.
from the township?
Yes, they
Okay.
received a new application along with the new ordinance stating that they needed to come in. And the ones that came in already, I'm not making them redo an application.
Understood.
Because that's,
Okay,
so. And we have a database with everybody's email in it, so once, I have the number and the okay from you people and the permits come in, we can contact them, say, come in, pick up your permits, send in your check, and go from there.
so just a straw poll, does anyone have a feeling on a cap, or is it unlimited as long as they are noticed of the first come, first serve and non-guarantee?
I'm okay with unlimited as long as they're aware of the provisions.
I'm okay with unlimited, just been passing there every morning, and there's plenty of open spots there.
Okay. All right, so Sue, if it requires us to formalize that, then let's formalize it.
Okay. Shall do.
The last is an amendment to ordinance 223.27-2, which I believe has to do with parking.
Yes, I asked for this to be put on. A couple people came to me recently saying that people are parking vehicles in their rear lawns and nothing could be done because this ordinance only references front lawns. And the couple that they showed me, shared backyards, and people have things in the backyard on the lawn. So they would like us to amend it to leave out the word front and just make it lawn areas. And also for this ordinance, redefine motor vehicles, because some people just have trailers that don't meet the criteria for a motor vehicle. It doesn't have an engine or anything, but, it's very unsightly. People park them there for years. There's grass growing up around them. So people just asked a couple people asked if we would consider those couple of changes to this ordinance.
Now, so it talks about grass or dirt areas. If it's paved or if there are pavers, is it not considered lawn?
Well, it says may not be stored, parked, or maintained on any front lawn, grass, or dirt. So gravel seems to be okay. Pavers seem to be okay. I know Dumont just had some issue.
Yeah.
They just passed an ordinance about that, and there was a big uproar about that. You know, these are very, very difficult ordinances to manage in the respect that you look to solve one problem and then you kind of penalize other people. For example, I think this is not the first time that this issue has come up in this town about parking of vehicles and things of that nature, you know, somewhere. For example, if you have a boat trailer, and you have the boat on, where you putting it? You know, side yard, backyard, that kind of a thing. Some people have.
Technically, that's a motor
It's an
vehicle.
RV.
I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
and what I'm saying is that, so this is the front lawn, but people are gonna say, where do I put it? You know, that kind of thing. I put it here my whole life, I use it, whatever. Other people might have campers, you know, those things, and so all I'm saying is that in doing it, you have to be mindful of a lot of people still want to be able to park those vehicles or something like those vehicles somewhere on their
I
property.
guess some of the people that were talking about this are like cars that are like half stripped, sitting up on blocks.
Well, that I think is something that can be addressed.
Yeah.
I think, you know, just when you get into definitions and try to hone in on that, I'm just throwing out, you know, when you're looking at defining motor vehicles, just be careful of the fact of these other kind of items that people do have and do want to park, you know, on their property somewhere. I'm not saying it's not unsightly, but, you know.
We can, just when you commented about Dumont, because I read that too, and when I read this, that this was on the agenda, I was glad to see our ordinance would seem to allow gravel driveways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you wouldn't have the uproar that you had in Dumont because
Right.
their driveway's made of gravel.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, the
Yeah.
issue is a big one.
Yeah.
And it can be big here too in terms of these other kind of vehicles. That was just kind of an illustration.
Well, I mean, to me, we're, you know, imposing on the homeowner, and the homeowner's right. You know, there's a balance somewhere. But to say that you can't have a trailer with a quad on it that you use, you know, in the fall to go hunting, and you store in your backyard the other 9 months, you know, I don't know, do we want to go down that road? Because I think it, you know, is a slippery slope.
I certainly agree, and the people that, again, voice their concerns, I don't know how we can address it, but the vehicles or whatever trailers have been parked in the same position for years, just, you know, clearly not being used for anything and, you know, just creating an eyesore in their backyards. So, like you said, Michael, if we can find a happy medium someplace, that's all that those people were looking for.
You know, the other thing is legislating taste is,
Tasteless.
you know, could be dangerous because, you know, I question some of my neighbors, and their taste in lawn furniture and any number of things, the color of their houses, whatever it is. But, you know, do we want, again, do we want to impose governmental oversight into what people do with their personal property? So I guess, Ken, just to toss it back to you, if there is, you know, a resident that has a car on blocks and the grass is growing up through the, you know, the engine compartment, is that something that can be addressed through, you know, are there other ways to address these areas of concern?
Okay, so off the top of my head, I think we'd have to kind of go through what we're preventing, you know, motor vehicles. Motor vehicles is a very general term, so I think if you...
Would that fit under property maintenance?
No. It's personal property being parked on things, it's not the same as property maintenance. Although, like Michael says, it's in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. But I think if we could identify some specific, like for example, you said a car stripped, no tires, undrivable, on blocks, half the car gone, maybe that's something that we can actually put in here and say, that's not allowed, you know, that kind of a thing. And just limit it to really substantial eyesores or substantial items that are not useful. For example, a boat on a trailer is a useful thing, you would not legislate against that, but you might say these kind of cars, and who knows, people may be taking cars, putting them on there, taking them apart, selling them, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think there's a certain amount you can do. You know what I would suggest, maybe, Peter? Maybe the people who had issues about it, and if anybody else has neighbors, ask them what kind of things they're interested in, but you have to tell them that you may not be able to just address all of them, but,
Yeah.
we don't want to just make it just cars that are on blocks.
Of course.
There may be other things that you can, that everybody would be comfortable with.
Okay.
Ken, question for you. When you talk about a front yard, what does that delineate? Everything that is in front of the house, what delineates a front yard from a side yard to a rear yard, in your
Our
experience?
ordinances define in the code what the front yard and what the side yard and what
Yeah,
the
are
rear
they?
yard is. I mean, it's basically, I don't have to look at it, every ordinance is different. I'm thinking that the front yard is, kind of a line this way from the house. but
Okay.
I would have to go into the codes and see the wording, but, that's the front yard.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people have vehicles on the side of their house.
Well, that's the side,
Well, that's
that's
the
the
thing.
side.
That's,
yeah.
well, I mean,
That's the side yard, yeah.
But if you're at a corner lot, it could be the front.
Could be the
Could
front.
be the front.
Right, exactly,
So-
yeah.
Or if you're on a through lot, you could have two front yards.
Okay, so in terms of this, I think perhaps if we could get some additional concrete examples, and perhaps we can revisit this to see if there's a way to address some of these concerns of abandoned property versus someone
That's all the
using.
people we're looking for.
Okay. I lost my place now, 1 second.
Closed session.
Closed session.
Closed session.
I thought I was in charge. Okay.
We're just bringing you to your place.
All right. So does anyone have any other items they'd like to bring up before we introduce the closed session ordinance?
I would just like to let the public know that the fire department is now selling their annual Christmas trees, 7 days a week, from 9 until 9 at night. Thank you.
On a similar note, we were invited to decorate a tree at Van Son. Each municipality in Bergen County has a tree. I'm not aware that anyone has, Mayor, have you spoken to anybody about that?
Nope.
But if there's any, I guess, groups in town that would be interested in decorating the tree.
Maybe
Okay.
scouts.
All right.
Okay. Do you have, can you share that email with the council?
Okay, yes.
Sounds like a perfect job for the administrator. I don't know about you.
I would love to do that. Are you kidding me? I'd love to decorate. I'll take Sue with me.
Perfect. So seeing no other business, we do have a closed session scheduled. There's a Resolution 17350 closed session regarding the collective bargaining negotiations with the DMF. We do not anticipate coming back into public session, so we won't be reconvening. May we have a motion?
second.
Councilman Calamari?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes. Thank you.